Time for the T2.5 World Tour, race number 3. Unfortunately, I didn't make this one myself. I had another NFL game to go to at Wembley, and it was touch and go about whether I'd actually get back to start on time. This was an 8 o'clock start Sunday evening. I didn't quite get back on time to join the race myself, unfortunately, but this group is awesome. We've had a couple of people send in their footage, so let's take a look. So, race number 3 is in Mercury, Valley to Mountain Top. A shorter race than the previous ones. We've got 5 kilometres in length and 130 metres of climbing, and it goes up towards the tree, up the Temple KOM reverse. We've got 4 different people who have sent in their videos of this race. We've got Pavel. We have also got Julia in the C Cat. We have Noel in the B Cat, and we also have Chris Waring from the B Cat as well. So unfortunately no D Cat footage for this ride, but this should be a relatively fast one. Let's have a look at who we've got in the B Cat. We've got S from ZR Scott off the front here, N Corbin, C White, B Bishop, C Waring, it's moving around a bit, J Chris Jupp, Noel, D Stark, Aker and C Moore in the B Cat. Let's have a look at who we've got in the C's. L Connor, J Robinson, J Simpson, P Macmillan, S Liddell, Pavel and Julia, S Liddell, I've said S Liddell, apologies. L Connor, it's moving around so fast I can't tell. I can see George and Craig in there as well. There's a slight split already in the C group by the looks of it. Craig's 4 seconds back with John 7 seconds back. I think Dave Taylor stayed in the pen. So I think there's a bit of a split already. And as you'll notice, we're already onto some gravelly sections. And this is what's going to be interesting about this race, to know what bikes people have chosen. I was looking in the Discord chat afterwards, and I think there was I'm not sure the graphics necessarily always update. So people said that they were on different bikes to what they were appearing on other riders' screens. So I'm not too sure about that, but it'll be interesting to see. We've got a couple of road bikes in there that we can see, but also a couple of either gravel or mountain bikes as well. And I think I saw a Tron a bit earlier as well. Let's jump in and have a look at Noel in the B Cat. Pretty much all together as a B Cat at the moment. Already down to just 4 kilometres to go. Obviously we'll get to the climb and it'll take a little bit longer to get up the climb. What sort of bikes have we got in there? I think there's a mixture again. I think I'm assuming no one's going to try and do a bike swap at any point on this. I think it's far too short for that. I don't think you get any advantage over it. So I think it's going to be a pick your bike and go for it for the majority of the race, or all of the race I should say. Chris in here with the bees as well. Can already see then in this C Cat there is someone right off the front there, 12 seconds ahead already, putting out some proper gas. Got themselves a break over George. George putting out 4 watts per kilo, as is Sam Liddell. I guess trying to close that gap before it disappears too far off up the road. And there is a gap back now to Jay Robinson's 5 seconds back from the group. Jay Bushell 17 and Craig 21. So this, whilst the B's have stayed together, the C's have pretty much gone for it off the bat. Although I don't think there's going to be quite the same thing we saw in the B's last week, where or in the last race, where everyone was kind of on a casual ride until it really counted. Chris out front putting out 4.5 watts per kilo. Ben as well. Those two, I think, up to this point have won the category, all the races in this category between them. So it'll be interesting if they can do the same again this time. Onto the tarmac part of this route as well. Down to 3.2 kilometres to go already. And we're 3 minutes 40 in. The gap out the front here has come down to 11 seconds. H. Templanza. Hopefully I've got that right. As you know, I'm not very good with names. Apologies if I'm not getting it right. Do let me know in the comments how I should properly pronounce the names if I'm getting them wrong. Julia sitting in this front group. That's come down to 8 seconds now as well. Let's see if they continue to wheel to bring that in. Now, at this part, obviously we're going to get more of an advantage with draft at this stage than when they're going up the hill. So maybe they can work together to kind of pull that front rider in as quickly as possible. It's not too far away from that hill already starting. Just coming up towards the village at the top before turning left to make the way up the climb. How far ahead then? So this is the C cat group into the B cats. Time wise, not too far ahead. They are literally just making that left hand turn now before turning left to where the climb starts. They're going to get there first. Again, the group's pretty much together. I can see a couple off the back. N Corbin 7 seconds back, and S has dropped 17 seconds back. But the majority of the group riding together, some bigger numbers. Let's see if anybody attacks at the foot of this climb. And this is where I think we'll see the group split a bit. I don't spot that Tron that I saw earlier as well, so maybe someone changed just before the race began. We've got A Kerr, 5 watts per kilo, N Lafrique with nearly 6 watts per kilo, pushing off up the front now. Watching Noel's numbers up to 7, so trying to push to keep up as well. Is anyone going to make that break off the front at all? It doesn't look like it straight away. Let's go back into the C-Cat group, and I have pulled in the front rider as the climb starts now for these guys as well. Bigger numbers going in here as well. P. McMillan 4.8 watts per kilo. Jay Simpson was up at 5 there for a second as well. So this is where it's going to get, I mean, short races like this are the ones where you can already see Pavel's been in the red pretty much the whole of this race already. And it's just a blast to the end. P. McMillan here has got himself a 6-second lead over Pavel. S. Little going with him as well. George 2 seconds behind that with Jay Simpson. And Pavel putting out what he can to try and keep up with those guys. And you can see it starting to split slightly further behind. Going back to Julia, who's only a couple of seconds back on Pavel. Got El Connor 12 seconds back. Jay Bushell. As usual, it's the hills that split the group. And we'll see how it goes as this sort of, what will be now, 1.8 kilometers left to go. So a little way left to go yet. Let's go over to Chris in the B Cat. Again, it hasn't split the group much out the front. It's the sort of front, 5 riders are still pretty much together. Chris White fallen 10 seconds, 9 seconds back with N Lafrique and D Stark. So, yeah. Moving over to Noel then. Noel's just slightly gone off the front in the Bs. I don't know if that was intentional. I didn't notice a blast of power to get up there. This race finishes at the top of this climb, so the 1.3 kilometers is all going to be climbing apart from that very short bit that levels off at the top. Noel riding off the front here. Ben just behind. A Kerr. Again, as I mentioned, that front group's pretty much all together. Let's take a look at the C-Cat group and find out what's going on here. This one is definitely more split. Jay Simpson off the front with S. Liddell about 19, 20 seconds ahead. P. McMillan just 4 seconds behind them. George and Pavel. And then it's split a little bit behind with a couple of seconds gap between a few people behind. But as expected, I think it'd be interesting to... Unfortunately, I didn't get footage of the D-Cats and I wasn't there myself to record it. So I would like... Good to see what the splits would have been in the D-Cat, because I think it'd probably potentially be a little bit bigger. The BCAT are now into the final kilometre with Chris Waring. Ben's got a 10-second lead out the front, putting out nearly 6 watts per kilo. A Kerr giving a good push behind as well, over 5 watts per kilo. We've got Chris Jupp and Noel together. Let's have a look at Noel's position then. We've got Seymour with them as well. CY at 14 seconds behind, so it'd be interesting to see how these guys split or race to the line as we get there. Let's have a quick jump over to the CCAT race. Jay Simpson now with a pretty healthy lead out the front. S. Liddell just behind with P. McMillan as well. That'll be a close run to the line. George and Pavel still pushing hard. A pain on his face. Look, still pushing up that hill. Keep going, mate. Keep going. But let's get over to watch the finishing line come into sight for the BCAT. It's pretty leveled off now. It's still a 3% climb as we go over these. We've got Ben Bishop's now. I think he's won it. I don't think that's a catchable distance with A. Kerr. Just going back to Noel's angle, you can see Chris Jupp and Chris Waring out the front there, and Seymour riding with Noel. I think we'll go back over to watch the end of this race between these two. Who is going to be the first person to go? First and second are done, I think. 400 meters until the line. Is someone going to go first between the two Chris's, or even from behind? A 2-second gap is pretty quick to close on a flat. Into 300 meters to go. Who is going to go first? Big numbers. Chris is going 4.5, 5.3 into the bigger numbers. And again, 6.5. I think Chris is going for it here. He's going. Can Christopher Waring, can he respond up to 6 watts per kilo? Who's going to get there? Looks like it's going to be Chris. Chris Jupp, that is. Oh, I can't get that right, can I? And then, yes, that's going to be Chris Jupp taking that. Heading back to watch Noel, who is going to be taken on the line by Seymour. Just awesome racing. Sprinting to the line there. Well done, guys. Let's head back to have a look at the remainder of the CCAT race. Jay Simpson's definitely got this one in the bag, that lead. Probably P. McMillan in second as well. S. Liddell, George, I think pretty much heading over to Pavel. I think pretty much those positions are going to remain as they are for the rest of the ride. What they got? They've still got 500 meters, but the gaps are pretty large time gaps now, I think. Julia 6 seconds behind Pavel. Pavel still, look at that graph below. All red and orange. I love it. Great racing. And just got another 400 meters to go. So P. McMillan will be the next over the line, along with S. Liddell, still putting a sprint out at the end. You see his numbers going up to 6 watts per kilogram. Awesome racing. And then it will be George next. There we go then. Pavel going over the line. And we'll head back to Julia as well to see her cross over the finish line as well. And then what I'll do is I'll wrap up the results. And we can have a run through them afterwards. This has been a great race. The shorter ones are brilliant. It's a bit of a shame that I missed it. I wouldn't have been very good or finished very well, I don't think, given my weight and it being a hilly race. But I love the different mix of races that we've got in this series. But I'm going to put the results together. And yeah, we'll have a look at them after. Another awesome race. Such a shame that I couldn't get back to join in. I wouldn't have done particularly well. It probably would have been one of my worst finishes. It's a short, punchy, hilly climb on gravel, and that is definitely not something I'm very good at. But yeah, it would have been nice just to come on and get some points anyway. But let's have a look at the points. In the ACAT, Eric winning it in 10 minutes 24. That is fast, 4.99 watts per kilo. And John still riding the bike after suffering from the thing going round at the moment. So it's an incredible effort just to get on, let alone to put out 3 watts a kilo. John and Eric currently sitting top of the leaderboard. Don't forget, these results are going to look a bit weird until we get 8 or 9, 10 races in, because it is your best 8 results that count out of the 14. So people will come and go in and out of different races, and it will definitely mix up the leaderboards a bit. Let's have a look at the BCAT. We saw Ben winning it, Alison is second, the sprint between the two Chris's, Colin and Noel as well, and we see at the back Neil and Chris were less than a second apart, 2. Again, quickly going through the overall standings. There's, 5 people have been to the 3 races so far. Ben, Chris, Neil, Noel and Chris. Moving on to the C-Cat. John Simpson winning that with Paul McMillan, 15 seconds behind. I guess this hill has kind of spread the group a little bit more than what a normal race would be. Any other close riders in there is pretty well spread out. Templanza, who went out early, I guess, to try and get out and see if to keep that gap for as long as possible. Just getting in ahead of David Shannon, and a couple of new people in for the first time today as well. James Robinson racing for the first time. Templanza, Sam Liddell for the first time. Lindsay Connor. Great to have you guys along. Hopefully you can make some of the others. Let's have a look at the D-Cat. David Gilmore winning this one, coming back for the second race in 14:38. Damien C in second. And I guess as we look down here, there's some close racing between Tim Glasby and Latix. That was just under a second difference. Scott Corbin and Ian Ferguson also sprinting to the line there as well. So great to see some close racing between all of the categories. And looking at the overall standings, Latix at the top at the moment. Andrew Evans and Ben Jenkinson, Neil Brandon, who've been to all 3 races so far. But the overall standings are going to move around a lot as we go along, I have no doubt. Next race. The next race is coming up thick and fast. It is this weekend already, only a week gap between the two. So it's this Sunday at 2 o'clock UK time is the next race. That one will be in France, for Douce, France. 24 kilometres, 133 metres of climbing, but relatively flat. Very different to the race we've just done. So yeah, again, come along. We've got plenty of races left. Best 8 results count. So if you haven't joined yet and want to, definitely come along and join. And all you have to do is join the ride. Link is in the description of this video or on the T2.5 Facebook channel or Discord channel. And just join up and you'll be automatically allocated points. But hopefully, I can't see why I wouldn't be. Hopefully I'll be there on Sunday. I can start getting some points myself. But that is the end of this video. If you have enjoyed it, do hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.